time for Chief Lalley in the Fox Valley. I'm Christy Hilton, Public Information Officer, and I'm here with, obviously, Chief Anna Lalley.
Hi, Christy.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good, good.
Looks like we're here for a year-end recap today.
We are. So this is going to be really a just overview of our annual report that we put out to the public along with our response to resistance. Both are online. But yeah, just kind of getting the high points of the reports.
All right.
So I guess I'll start, right?
Yeah, you're going to do most of the talking today.
Although you compiled all of these reports, you did an excellent job. So if anyone sees these online, Christy did all this amazing work herself.
Go on.
That's all it's going to be about today, just about Christy and the amazing work she does.
Amazing work.
So we need about 30 minutes, okay, Dan?
I think we can wrap it up in about 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah, let's do it.
But all kidding aside, she does do an amazing job. This takes a lot of work to put this together and to check for accuracy and then to go back and ensure. I know a lot of times we'll meet back and forth just to make sure that we're looking at the numbers correctly and when we push this out to the community that it is correct. So I want to start off by just talking about our Part 1 crimes. Overall, we have a 17% decrease from where we were last year. So in 2018, we had 1,996 total Part 1 crimes. And in 2019, we had 1,665. And the Part 1 crimes are those crimes which are serious in nature that occur with frequency. We talk about it all year long. And so that is an amazing thing for 1 year to be down that much. And one thing is, where we saw the biggest decreases were in our burglary motor vehicle category. So even though in 2018 we had 361, in 2019 we had 204, and out of those we still had some unlocked vehicles.
67% of them, I believe, were.
So we have some work to do there, but to see that 43% decrease overall and just between our messaging, and again, it's hard to say if this is what it was, or maybe people weren't just stealing from cars, or maybe people are not reporting it, which, that's the other thing too. Anytime you put your crime stats out, people may not report crime. So there's always that unknown figure of crime, but this is as accurate as we have for people coming and telling us. But when you say 43% reduction, it sounds like, wow, that's a lot, but that's why we put the numbers too. So I know you and I talked about that with our homicides. We went down 67%, but we went from 3 to 1. So
right.
You need to put those numbers to put it in context. Otherwise, it's 100 or 200. So it's important to look at the actual number too, not just the percentage of change. So our overall 70% Part 1 crimes. And Part 2 crimes were down 6% from where we were last year. So we went from 8,237 in 2018 to 7,713 in 2019. And so our Part 2 crimes, I guess, how would you categorize our Part 2 crimes since you do the crime stats?
They would be less serious in nature as compared to the Part 1 crimes.
Okay. And I think the, importance too is last year was the first year that we put out our Part 2 crime. And it's important, I think, for the Elgin community to be able to see everything. It needs to be a total picture.
Another thing about Part 2 crimes, too, is it includes a lot of officer-initiated activity. So not everything is things that we've been called to, but it's also the officer observing things and taking enforcement action on that. Exactly.
And I think that's important that, people in our community do see everything. And I know as we transition into a new way of doing crime stats, which we'll cover here at the end, we're going to get an even more accurate picture of what's going on in the city. So, crime stats are one way to, see how a city's doing. And, but it's a small part because obviously, we could be sitting here next year, and I've said this several times to the news media that our crime could go up 17%. And that's why it's important to look at what's going on, look at the numbers, adjust our strategies, adjust our response. And so really great year, Elgin. We want to thank the Elgin community because this does not happen by accident. This happens when we have people who are involved, who are calling, who are engaged with us in our community initiatives. And obviously from the good work that the officers and everyone does in the building. It's not just the police officers, it's our record staff, our communication staff, it's Christy, it's Dan Rouse, it's everybody behind the scenes doing everything. I think that this is where the magic happens, and this is where we are seeing some really good results. So as we move into 2020, it's weird saying
I know
that,
it
2020, we are going to be working on one of our big, I guess our big push this year is our gunfire incidents. And so we did see a 9% decrease in our gunfire incidents. We went from 34 gunfire incidents where something was struck, or a person was struck, or there was evidence of a shooting. So that might be some shell casings that were left at the scene or some type of other evidence. We went from 34 in 2018 to 31 in 2019. But as we've talked about a couple times on the show here, it does seem like there is a lot more on social media that gave a perception that Elgin's shootings were actually going up.
Yes.
We went from 12 people struck in 2018 to 9 people struck in 2019. So overall, it's a 9% decrease, again, in gunfire incidents. However, as we move into 2020, it is important to me that, one incident is too many. We are really going to be making a concerted effort, and we're getting together to kind of put together our strategy and our plan of how we can continue to push the numbers down. And when we looked at our incidents of gunfire, 15 were east side, 15 were west side.
Right, and one was unknown.
One was unknown. And when we looked at the incidents too, and we really kind of broke down what was going on, some people will end up in the hospital and they don't tell us what happened. Or some people, it's a lot of interpersonal violence where they know someone. And so we're going to try to look at those other issues that are centering around gunfire incidents and really get to the core and try to do some initiatives or programming to address those issues. And so that's going to be our focus here in the police department for 2020 as it relates to gunfire. But I think it's also important that as a community, we know what the numbers say. I know that when we had last year, there were 3 days where shots fired, 2 incidents in the same day. And it all came in October, November, and December. And so when we would post something, shots fired, and then an hour later, shots fired, then it does give that perception. But the reality is, we're actually down. However, we understand that we need to do something to address not only the perception, but the actual crime itself. So we're going to be working hard this year. We need the community's help. There is, many underlying issues when it relates to gun incidents. Who has access to guns? How are they using them? What is the violence or what is going on behind the scenes that causes people to use a gun? So we're going to be really working hard to see what we can do to focus on that. And then as we move into 2020, I did mention our gunfire incident, and we're going to be really working this year. It's kind of the year of, I would say, assessment. Just really looking at the police department and taking a good look at our technology, our policies, our equipment, and really focusing on, are things that we're doing and have been doing for years, do we need it? What's the next thing? I've said many times that I just don't look at the next year. I always like to look 5 years ahead, because I think that if you just are thinking, day to day or year to year, I think you need to have a plan, which we are working on a 5-year strategic plan. And so as we continue to just see a lot of change in the department, we had a retirement ceremony and a promotion on Friday. We need to make sure that what we have in place is that, 1, that it works, 2, that it's needed, and 3, that it's the best for people working here. And are there things that we can do to make it easier for people? Are there things that we can do to solve crimes more efficiently? So we're going to be, it's a year of kind of review and assessment. One thing too I wanted you to mention, because this is kind of going to be your project, is the National Incident-Based Reporting System. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. In 2021, it's a federal mandate that all agencies that report their crime do so in a new format, which is the National Incident-Based Reporting System. Currently, we do what's called uniform crime reporting, and that's reporting the most serious offense. That's Part 1 crimes that we've been talking about. But when we switch over to this new method, it's going to be counting all offenses in the crime. So, as an example, I know Because it's the best one I can think
I know.
of, Chief. I'm
Listen,
sorry.
here's her example. Everybody just hear this and let me know what you think. Put it in the comments.
Okay, here we go. If they've stuck with us this far, they'll appreciate.
Yes.
Okay. So Chief Lalley punches me in the face.
Which I would never do.
Takes my car.
Which I would never do.
And in the process, kills me somehow.
Which I absolutely would not do. So yes, you see this example for some reason, okay?
In the current method, the only crime that gets reported is the fact that she killed me.
Yes.
The murder.
The homicide.
But in the new way of reporting, it will count all three of those offenses that she committed. So it's going to change things up a little bit. There's a lot of work that goes into it. We're going to have to change how the officers complete their reports. We're going to have to look at every single statute to make sure that it's coded correctly with what the FBI is looking for. And there is a lot to be done.
Yeah.
So we're working with the state. We're working with our software vendor. There's a lot to this project. So.
Now, are we also going to be a test site? Is that my understanding?
There has been talk, as long as our software vendor can get on the same page as the state sooner than later, we should be able to be a test site for that process.
And this happens in 2021, correct?
We switch over in 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the year of preparation.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's important that we start talking about that now to the community so that they understand exactly that example that you gave. Will our crime stats go up in certain categories? Yes, because now it's just the highest offense. But I think it's important that people understand that we're transitioning. There's going to be a difference in how we put our crime stats out. But I think the more education we give over the next year to the public, then when 2021 comes, because we would report UCR still in next year.
Right.
So technically we wouldn't really see it to 2022.
Right.
So I think we have a couple of years here where, the Elgin Police Department, we like to get ahead of things. We don't really want to wait until, January of 2021 to figure out what we're doing.
Right.
So
Now what? Yeah.
Right. And so it sounds like you have a big project on your hands.
I do, and unfortunately, I'm in the holding pattern waiting for two other entities to get things moving so I can too. So, so it's probably going to be December.
So we will be starting in January of 2021.
And it'll be me doing this all in December.
She will do it all herself, but she will get it done because she's amazing and she gets it done. So,
Anna.
The last thing I want to talk real quick is just our response to resistance. And again, this report is online, just some of the high points. So our response to resistance encompasses our use of force. So when an officer actually uses force on an individual, and then our show of force where an officer may display a taser but not actually use the taser. So our use of force and show of force encompasses response to resistance. In 2019, we had 112 incidents total, and 2018 we had 117. So we actually saw a five in incidents, total incidents decrease, and nothing too big, nothing too significant about that. However, it's good to see a downward trend. Our response to resistance report talks about all the times that officers use force, the type of force. The use of force in a majority of the incidents. The thing to highlight is that in 61% of incidents where force was used, it was an arm wrist control. So it wasn't anything too significant. So our response to resistance continues to go down. Our crime rate continues to go down. We're doing a lot of great things with our CCSU and our ESD, which is all in the annual report. So overall, a really great year for the Elgin Police Department. We know that the work doesn't stop. So we usually take about a week or two, talk about crime stats nonstop, and then we're just continuing to push forward. And we want to just say thank you to the Elgin community for all your help in making stuff like this happen. And so let's have a great year in 2020. I'm going to be here next month talking about, where we are at for the 2020 first part of the year. And I think that's all the things I wanted to cover.
All right. That wraps it up then.
That wraps it up. So until next time, Elgin, make sure that you stay safe, you stay connected, and you stay engaged.